playing a.
I'm gonna tweet this out. Does that
Yep.
make sense?
Mhm.
Okay.
I am the. I've been upgraded to the 5th man now on the starting roster.
Look at you.
There's only 5 guys.
What
there
position do you play?
As far away from tall as possible.
So are you just hanging
usually
out by the
backcourt.
3-point line?
Backcourt. I provide savvy defensive skill. Contribute. I had 8 boards last game though.
All right. You
8 boards and 2 steals.
You can't
2
coach
steals.
Height, you can't coach hard.
Got a lot of quickness.
Is the is this should be centered? Are we centered? Leon, are we centered? Stop beeping. Oh shit. Are we done with battery? God damn it. Thank you. Brontosaurus Rex is a fake dinosaur because that would be confusing. I'm gonna try to make Leanne laugh with numbers today.
Yeah.
35.
36.
Yeah. If she thought 35 was funny, wait till we drop some 36 on her. Wait till we get to numbers divisible by 4.
Yeah, Robbie.
Strong like bull? What's happening? Throw it in this way, positive. Penis this way, I believe. Yeah. Stick it in, Ty. Stick it in hard. I know I'm tight.
Wow.
This is the theme song. Tire Fire.
Welcome to the Solid Verbal. The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo-woo!
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. Ty Hildenbrandt here. Dan Rubenstein seated to my left once more. We're back doing the show live for those of you out on the interwebs, on the Twitters, on solidverbal.com, spnation.com. We're all over the place right now. You can watch this show live. Daniel, how are you? I haven't been up here in it's been like a month.
I haven't been here on weekends recently.
That's right, yeah.
It's great. New York is cold as hell. I'm ready to move.
The studio's actually cold as hell, too.
Yeah.
You know, if you see our breath here.
Both in temperature and temperament.
This is also true.
It's a very cold, dark place.
It is. It is. Well, thanks for joining us here on a Sunday. We have some things to discuss with you.
We do.
We'd play the reverbs if the computer didn't spit it back out at us today. So we'll add that in a little bit later. If you're tuning in, sorry, we'll do our best to fix those glitches.
Yes.
At some point in the very near future here. But
you're so unprofessional, Ty.
Well, we do our best here on the
Mark
show.
Richt has lost control over your computer.
We do our best. So college football week 14.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
I'm sad because I don't get to see you tweet out game day.
I guess we could do it next week for Army Navy if we really want.
That's true. And that's in your neck of the woods. My thoughts were there was a really, really good game on Saturday afternoon, evening. There was a pretty good game on Friday night, an okay game on Thursday night, and Georgia Tech almost beat Florida State.
Yeah, that was – it all sort of started off with the Go Dwags sign.
Go Dwags.
At game day when you promptly – I got to give you credit.
I moved quickly.
You wasted no time getting the shirt on solidverbal.com, which you can now head out to and purchase for the low price of like
$22.
Something like that.
It all goes to the proceeds go to sending Ty and I to Miami. Ty and me to Miami, where Ty is probably going to be forced to eat something really weird.
Right. So it started with the Go Dwags. And I noticed a couple other things on game day.
Yeah.
We obviously need to get through the SEC championship and the other championship games. We're actually going to have Clay Travis on, who I believe is at the game.
You're getting it done.
I saw him sending out some tweets that he was on the field and about the atmosphere and whatnot. So we'll get to that momentarily. Two other quick notes from game day. Did you notice Matt Ryan's new Southern accent? Did you notice that?
Boston College's own Matt Ryan, yeah.
Matt Ryan grew up about an hour south of me in Downingtown, which is a suburb of Philly.
Sure.
He then moved to Chestnut Hill for 4 years of his college career.
Yep. Spent time with Tom O'Brien. It's obviously not rubbing off there, yeah.
Right. Now he's been living in Atlanta for, 5-6 years?
Sure.
Suddenly he has this Southern accent. Now, I have a cousin who moved to the New York area, and it sounds as if she developed a little bit of that New York twang to her. I know it's not a twang, but whatever it's considered. I think he's faking it.
You think it's a fake?
I think like John Miller, when he used to call games for ESPN, and he used to have the fake Spanish accent for like Miguel Tejada, and he used to really
Beltran.
Right. I think Matt Ryan's faking this.
Here's where I'm going to agree with you. I think he's faking it too, and I'm okay with it.
I'm fine with it.
If you've ever spent time in the South, you've been to a Georgia game.
Yes.
I've been all over. Whoa, my microphone. I've been all over the South covering stuff.
Right.
When you see the females that are saying y'all, it's okay to say, I think I'm going to start saying that.
Okay.
And I was there a couple of weeks ago, and I was right on the cusp of just throwing out y'all.
Whatever gets it done.
Yes.
No, I'm fine with it too, but I just need to bring that to your attention. Also, very quickly, we've made the joke that Al Michaels, I know people have talked about Al Michaels for years, that he's betting on games. And I made the joke on Twitter last week, and I'm certainly not the first or the last to say that Brent Musburger maybe laid some coin on Notre Dame money line last week or -6.
He's got something every week.
Time to start asking the question about Chris Fowler.
Fowler
made more references
How dare you?
He made more references to Vegas in that 2-hour time block when they started talking about football than both Michaels and Musburger combined.
I'm going to disagree. I disagree.
Just saying,
How dare you besmirch the Godfather?
It warrants consideration, that's all.
All right. No, I mean, we talk about Vegas.
We do.
I don't bet on games.
I might.
Yeah, well, I somebody who speaks of Vegas and lines every week, and I don't bet on games.
We like to hypothesize who's doing this amongst us.
Yeah.
So just throwing that out there. Anyway, game day, a great program for those watching at home.
Great
gold
program. Standard. Yeah.
All right. So SEC championship is where it really started and ended this past weekend. Alabama ends up winning a tight one, 32-28. We were both right from the standpoint that we both had Georgia plus the 7.5 points in terms of the point spread.
Did we? I don't remember.
We both had Georgia. Yeah. How quickly we forget here.
Yeah. No.
Georgia dominated most of the first half. Still ended up trailing 10-7 after the first half. And again, while we're keeping with the Vegas theme, I watched the live betting spread like a hawk to see what would happen. The live money line to see who Vegas thought.
How did that move?
At one point, Alabama was down 11, and it barely moved. So there were a lot of folks out there who basically couldn't have cared less about the score.
Right.
And had resigned themselves to the notion that Alabama was going to win the game. And I can't agree more. Having watched that game, you just felt like no matter what Georgia did, after watching Bama all year long, that something was going to happen and there was going to be a long pass or a long run or a long whatever.
Right.
And they were going to end up winning this game. That's what happened.
When I was watching this game with my younger brother, and at one point I asked him what percent chance did he have, or was he giving Alabama to come back when they were down, I want to say 21-10?
21-10. They were
They're
down
down
11.
21-10.
Yep.
He put it around 3%. He called it for Georgia with 6 minutes left in the third quarter, and then slowly it went up. And
It's
up
a lot
and
of
up
time.
and up. Yeah.
A lot of time.
Yeah. So is that where you want to start with this game?
I think we have to,
Yes.
yeah.
Alabama looked. It was the distance runner pacing themselves. Georgia went out fast, which is great. But the question wasn't, can Georgia hang with Alabama? Is, can you get 4 really good quarters out of Aaron Murray against this defense? Can the Georgia defense sustain the relatively high level of play? They were getting stops in the first half. Can they sustain? And Alabama, it's coaching, it's talent, it's being open to coaching and being able to reflect how you're taught. They were able to start standing up to Georgia. The rushes were going down for the Bulldogs. And eventually, yes, it was Eddie Lacy and TJ Yeldon on the ground who kept pacing the Tide. And A.J. McCarron makes the huge throw, and they get the break. C.J. Mosley tips Aaron Murray's pass at the end.
Sure.
But yes, it was the methodical, and I use this phrase now all the time for some reason this year, the foot stomping.
The foot stomping. Okay.
And it's what Alabama does when they're within. I don't know what the lead is. Say if it was 31-10, I would have felt good about Georgia.
Yeah.
11 points in the third quarter, you never feel good about that against Alabama.
Yeah, and one thing that Alabama did, and it came as no surprise to anyone, certainly not us, because we've been saying it until we're blue in the face all year. The rushing defense.
Yes.
The rushing defense of Georgia has been susceptible.
Yep.
It got better as the season progressed, and in recent weeks it has been respectable, no doubt.
Right.
But you just knew Alabama at some point was going to try and attack that.
Right.
And that's what they did. In the third quarter, towards the latter part of the third quarter, through most of the fourth quarter, they didn't even need to throw.
No.
Alabama did not need to throw the football. As you mentioned, 2 running backs for Alabama. Eddie Lacy, 181, 2 scores. TJ Yeldon, 153 yards and 1 score.
Right.
This was the game plan. This is all they needed to do. This is why, as a Notre Dame fan, I would have loved that matchup against Georgia.
Right.
Because Notre Dame would have used its 3 running backs and hopefully done the same thing.
Right.
It's going to be a different game now. We'll talk to Clay about that
Yes.
in just a little bit. But this was the game plan. And again, much to the preconceived notions anyone may have about Nick Saban, he doesn't take many risks.
Right.
And he does what he needs to do in order to win a game. Who cares if it's
Calculated
vanilla?
risks.
Calculated risks, vanilla offense. He tried the fake punt, by the way.
He did.
2 fake punts in one half.
And the play clock let them down, yeah.
Play clock let him down, but this game plan should have come as no surprise to anyone at all.
Right. No, interesting to see, especially Georgia as strong up the middle, I think, with Rambo in the secondary and then Alec Ogletree at the middle linebacker position, John Jenkins up front. Up the middle, very strong, but they really couldn't contain the edge for the rushing attack of Alabama. So that was ultimately the difference. And I liked somebody mentioned Eddie Lacy running like a rabid rhinoceros.
Yeah.
That's about right.
Could we ask the same question about Eddie Lacy we asked about Trent Richardson last year?
Which is
if
the horse question.
If he got up to full speed from like 40 yards away and shoulder charged a live horse that was standing,
right?
Could he A, knock the horse over, and or B, kill the horse?
I think Trent Richardson still has the advantage because of his lower body.
Right.
The lower body.
Sure.
And Eddie Lacy is just a more complete rhinoceros.
Sure.
Trent Richardson more of just a wombat on steroids. And I don't believe Trent Richardson is on steroids. I have no idea, but I'm just saying that's what he looks like.
Well, while we're talking about killing things, did you see the hit that Aaron Murray took from?
Oh my goodness!
I want to ask another question here. I'm full of them today.
Right.
How stringent was the concussion test that they ran Aaron Murray through?
Do you have a concussion? No.
Harder or easier than SNL Celebrity Jeopardy?
Right.
I mean, really. He took a shot.
He did.
It was unbelievable.
On an interception
and then
return.
Tony Barnhart. I love Tony Barnhart. But Tony Barnhart at halftime says, well, this is something the SEC office is going to look at. And they've suspended players before.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll get right on that January 8th.
Right. No, I was going to say May 9th.
Right.
May
That'll be the
17th.
first order of business on January 8th. You can rest assured that they'll get right on that.
Yes.
So no one's getting suspended for that. Hell of a hit, though.
Alabama, Notre Dame. That's what we have.
That is what we have. We're going to have Clay
Actually,
here.
while we're on the subject of big
Yeah, go
hits,
ahead.
we have a compilation of.
Oh, we do?
Of just because it's the
This
most
is for the video
irresponsible
viewer.
possible
Yeah,
thing we
oh,
could
there
have.
it is. Okay.
We've got the gifts. We got the bull crap from Mark Richt in the bottom left-hand corner. We got
The most Christian thing ever, by the way.
Right, of course, bull crap. And then we've got a punchy Baylor fan. And then we've just got large physicality in the Big Ten Championship, which is these two plays are the most indicative thing that could be in front of us. It's Nebraska threw a good block.
Yeah.
And then Wisconsin ultimately.
That was
just
pretty
kept
much
running.
all Nebraska did.
Yeah.
To be honest,
It
with
was
you.
that block, and it was Taylor Martinez going for 173
His
yards
run.
on a play.
Yeah, it's weekends like, and by the way, there were a lot of really good football games.
Yes.
This weekend, and we can't say that. Maybe it's because there were
And Florida
fewer.
State, Georgia Tech.
And Florida State, Georgia
Yeah.
Tech. A lot of closer games. And I think all the bad games were rolled into one, and that was the Big Ten championship,
Correct.
which we'll talk about a little bit
Sure.
a little bit later on here. I'll also mention the CBS coverage, which Gary, I
we're out
love
of
Gary
this,
Danielson too, but
Tire
he's
fire.
such a shill for the SEC.
Yeah.
I mean, what was the budget for tissues up there in the booth for Gary?
Ty's talking about masturbating.
What was the budget for Gary Danielson for that game?
He
He was erect for 4 straight hours.
He was the situation where, like, if an erection persists for
Right.
4 more hours, then you are
It's
probably
his
Gary
Cialis.
Danielson. Yeah.
It was tremendous. Well, I don't want to say it was tremendous. I don't know. but
Listen. Hey, that's your judgment call.
it was interesting
Because
to say the least.
we're like 9 minutes into this show, and you're talking about Gary Danielson's ween.
I'm just saying.
All right.
I'm just saying. And also, CBS played the SEC on demand promo
Right.
directly before the Criminal Minds one. I'm just saying.
Ty's following the money.
I'm just saying. So.
Following the money.
All right. Well, we're going to have Clay on here momentarily.
Yes.
Let's get through some of the other stuff very quickly. Big Ten 70-31. Wisconsin going to its 3rd straight Rose Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Wisconsin went up early. T Magic answered with that incredible scramble for a touchdown, made
Right.
it 14-7. That was pretty much it.
That's pretty much it.
Wisconsin goes on a bit of a run, you could say.
I would
Led
say
42-10
many
at half.
bits of runs.
2 guys over 200 yards for Wisconsin, Melvin Gordon and Monty. It's Monty now.
Monty. Yeah.
He's back. He is back
Just
to Monty.
Not Monty. Just Monty. Monty Ball.
Monty Ball.
Yeah.
Melvin Gordon and Monty Ball
Right.
went over 200. James White, another 100. All told, 50 rushes, 539 yards on the ground, and 8 touchdowns. That
Yes.
is, for those math whizzes among us, 10.8 yards if you do the long division.
Melvin Gordon sounds like somebody who stole 87 bases last year for the Blue Jays. I congratulations to Melvin Gordon. 8 pass attempts for Kurt Phillips.
Yeah.
6 of 8 for about 70 yards.
They didn't even try.
How upset does this make? Aside from making upset any coach, Bo
Yeah.
Pelini, who's had such high levels of talent along the defensive line and linebacking position. His front sevens have been so good when he was at LSU.
Yeah.
When he came to Nebraska. Is this a recruiting thing? Or is this? It's not. It's got to be a combination of recruiting and development to get no push, knowing that
bad.
Wisconsin's going to run it straight at you, straight right
yeah,
there,
just directly. Yeah.
right. And Bo Pelini, wow. And this is they go 10-2. It's hard to complain about another double-digit win season
No.
for Nebraska, but to go out like that, that's embarrassing.
They
America.
also gave up about midway through the
Yes,
third
there's
quarter.
that
here.
too.
And when you're trailing in a game like this, I can understand how it happens. It's not supposed to happen. You don't want it to happen.
Right.
They got boat race. This was one of your boat races.
It was
here.
a boat racing. My dad used to make fun of me and my defensive prowess playing basketball. I was a scorer. I was a finesse player. He used to make fun of me and call the Toreador defense. Like, all right, here you go. Here's the red. That
the
was
the Matador defense.
It was the
right?
Matador Toreador. Yeah, it's the same
Sure.
thing. What is the difference between a Matador and a Toreador?
I have
don't
no
know.
idea.
But whatever the case is, it was the red of Nebraska.
Yeah.
Well, that was the defense.
What defense?
Yeah.
It
And now we have Wisconsin 3rd straight year in the Rose Bowl, which
Yeah.
all things, yes, Ohio State won the Big Ten. All things considered, though, from where they were, and now Utah State actually was really good. Oregon
were.
State was really good.
Indeed.
So Wisconsin struggled, but to get to this point again, 3rd straight BCS Bowl, 3rd straight trip to Pasadena for Brett Bielema. This team is worse than the last 2 teams, but still an incredible achievement.
Yeah, no doubt about
Yeah.
it. And you have to wonder how Brett Bielema feels about this newfound offensive attack that he has seemingly discovered.
Does he seem heavier to you?
He seems heavier, and I said it last year. He needs to just shave the head.
Yeah, the crown
Because
look.
the spike in the front,
No.
you're not fooling it. It's not
No.
growing back at this point.
No, he is not. He's not Hogan nor his hero.
He
Yeah.
needs. I don't know where to go.
Yeah.
He'll be playing Hogan, who's 4-0 by the way in the Rose Bowl.
That is true.
Kevin
Hogan. So you want to transition to that's a good enough place.
We're
Or
going to
do
have Clay here in a
let's go to
second,
Clay.
so
Yeah.
we could talk more about this game in a little bit. Hopefully,
Yeah.
never. Actually, this was a horrible football game.
At least not that many people were there to watch it.
How about this ACC game? Closer than it should have been.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of the best way to describe Florida State's season, the way they closed it out, and the best thing I could come up with was that they had a verbal Kint style limp to the finish of this football game.
Yeah.
Or of the season, really.
This is one of those games where we should have. I mean, the hindsight is so easy, but like they got beat up by Florida, physically beat up, and EJ Manuel got hurt and was knocked out of the game.
Right.
And we went into the show thinking, oh, they're gonna murder him.
Yeah.
You need a transition. Georgia Tech's a decent team. They're a 500 team. They're okay. They needed to play Boston College for a turn. They needed to play somebody like that to get the rhythm into a game like this, and they just didn't have it.
No, they didn't
Looked
have
flat.
it at all. They didn't have it. And again, Florida State, they came out, they absolutely let people down in this game, especially if you bet. If you would have bet in this game, I mean, Florida State won by 6, 21-15.
I'm typing in the password because my screensaver.
Okay,
We're all set.
Georgia Tech wins or loses by 6. If Florida State scores a touchdown, right on the money with the point spread, 13.
Yeah.
How angry would you have been?
Oh, I didn't really care.
Right, yeah. I don't know. Florida State underwhelmed,
Yeah. I would have been furious.
to say the least.
Yeah.
Are they going to play Louisville now in the Orange Bowl? Is that the implication?
It all depends on. Yeah, it appears Louisville is now the Big East champion. I think it still depends on what happens with Northern Illinois and the
Right.
coaches poll and the BCS situation. But yeah, they appear to be going to the Orange Bowl in a game that we will begrudgingly watch unless it's like a nice day out and we feel like a walk.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, joining us now, we
Yeah.
have a special guest on the line. He's a fellow you can find on the Twitters at Clay Travis BGID. That stands for Beard That Gets It Done.
And it does.
Also from OutkickTheCoverage.com, as well as Nashville's 1045 The Zone. Clay Travis joining us now. Clay, how are you? Were you at the game last night? We can't hear Clay.
I don't hear Clay.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully we can get Clay on here momentarily.
Yeah.
I did see him tweeting. I'm pretty sure he was at the football game.
Yes.
He also had a drinking game, which I do want to ask him about.
Love the drinking games.
The drinking game. It had a CBS tweet hashtag to it, and I had created a special column on the tweet deck
Just for that.
that
tag.
to see what people were saying. He has quite a following. If that was any indication.
Was it good? I mean, were the responses and
I'm pretty sure all of the 15 or 16 rules he created got some action at some point
right?
throughout the course of the
That's amazing.
throughout the course of the game.
You know, did any of them involve Tracy Wolfson's Long Island accent? Because I felt like I could hear it more.
Coach, when she says coach.
Code. Well, yeah, and it was. I'm trying to remember. These like dry it up or something. I forget. I just it was very noticeable. I loved it.
He had a rule in there about when Nick Saban is interviewed by Tracy, how many times will he look at the camera? Because he's always talking right to you into your home.
Was he? And he's handsy.
He's very handsy.
When he's trying to
not
make
with
a point.
Tracy,
Not with
thankfully,
Tracy,
but
just
he's
with
looking
life.
directly into the camera,
Right.
And he's just, he's trying to recruit you,
Full focus.
and your parents and whoever.
He's looking into all of our souls.
And so there was a rule for that,
Right.
and it seemingly would have gotten a lot
came
of people
true.
feeling tipsy.
Right.
I would say.
Especially maybe Chingy. Because everybody in the club getting tipsy.
All right. Well, while we're waiting for Clay, we could
Yeah.
talk through the Pac-12 game.
Yeah.
Stanford 27-24. This game took place on Friday night. A really good game. Of course, these two teams met previously, as in last week previously.
Yeah.
And both of us thought Stanford was going to win this one in large, convincing fashion. Totally different game this time around.
Correct.
Totally different game this time around. For starters, UCLA holds down Stephon Taylor. Last week it was like 7.1 per carry. This week 3.3. So they did a much better job
Indeed.
containing the run. They also did a much better job actually rushing the football. This week, 284 yards on the ground versus 73 last week. Got Brett Hundley in more of the action. Obviously involved
Long run early, yeah.
Jonathan Franklin a lot more.
They call him jet ski. Yeah.
It's one of those deals where UCLA obviously learned something from the game last week. They came out fired up. And for a while there, I thought they were going to beat Stanford. But again, one of those situations where Stanford progressively over the course of
Wore him down.
60 minutes just wore them down, right?
Yep, absolutely. Kevin Hogan was great, limiting the mistakes. The defense was very good. We saw the big pick from Ed Reynolds return it to the goal line, who I believe Ed Reynolds for Stanford leads the nation in return yardage for interceptions.
Right.
It's just a much better, deeper Stanford defense than we've seen in years past. And good for the Cardinal in David Shaw's second season. I think Stanford has now been to 3 straight BCS games.
They've
It's
done
the
well.
Orange
They've done very
Fiesta
well.
and now the Rose. And it is a rerun, if you will, of the Stanford-Wisconsin Ron Dane. I want to say this was a Ty Willingham game. The Ty Willingham Rose Bowl game that
It may have
got
been.
him the magical season for the Cardinal that got him the job in
got
South
him
Bend.
the job, yeah. Wow.
So we got a rematch
Return
of
to
that.
glory here.
I forget what year that was. I I want to say like 93, 94, 95, somewhere in there.
I forgot that
I was
year.
there, so it was a good time.
Unbelievable. All right. Kevin Hogan, I mentioned.
think we have Clay Travis.
Do we have Clay on the
Yes.
line now? Clay, can you hear us?
I don't think we have Clay.
We don't have Clay. Okay. We will get. This is the best segment of all time. I
Yes.
promise. We will get Clay here momentarily. All right. So we talked about the Pac-12 game. Obviously, Kevin Hogan now 4-0 as a starter. That's a big deal for Stanford. They had problems trying to figure out who their quarterback was going to be.
Right.
And now that they seemingly have found that person, it makes them a much better team.
Redshirt freshman, I believe.
Redshirt freshman. I saw a really interesting comment from a Notre Dame fan who mentioned, I wouldn't want to play the Stanford team now. This Stanford team is considerably better now than it was
Right.
a couple weeks back when Notre Dame played them.
No, and one of the hallmarks of that game for Stanford was that Josh Nunes was missing receivers. Not complicated touch throws. He was overthrowing. He was skipping balls. He was just misreading routes.
Sure.
And I don't know if Kevin Hogan in that environment against that Notre Dame team, I'm not going to be foolish enough to say that he's the difference in that game.
Sure.
But certainly you would assume, and this is a game, by the way, that Stanford came up 8 millimeters short of tying the game and sending it to overtime. So perhaps you make some of those throws, you extend drives.
Yeah.
He makes a goal line or red zone throw that Josh Nunes couldn't. But it was poor play calling from David Shaw that had nothing to. Josh Nunes didn't fumble a handoff.
No.
So that's basically where I come down on that. But yes, he looks great, and for years to come, I don't think David Shaw is going to be there for his entire career.
No.
But looks like a terrific answer for the Cardinal.
Absolutely. And
UCLA, by the way.
I was going to say a lot of credit to Jim Mora
Yes.
and the job that he has done. You talk about where this team was.
He has now attempted to win a game in one of the last 2 weeks. That's courage.
Well, hey, he's done a really good job
Right.
this year. I mean, we can make the
No,
jokes.
he's done a great job.
Done a really good job. This program has been in the proverbial dump for the last decade.
Sure.
The better part of the last decade, anyway.
Yeah,
To come
they
in
had
there.
the blip in 2005 with
Carl
Kevin, I forget the quarterback who
Sure.
shaped it. Drew Olson, yeah.
Drew Olson.
Yeah.
It's really been pretty remarkable what he's done so quickly.
Yeah.
So we'll see where he goes from here. Certainly a lot of people to recruit in Southern California. We'll have to see how
Sure.
he does in the
Great
offseason.
school, kind of a crappy stadium, but yeah, it's UCLA
Yeah.
should be winning 8 games at the very minimum every year.
The excitement is back in
Sure.
Westwood. We should mention Rutgers.
Sure.
We're in the shadow
right
of,
down the street.
We're in the shadow of the Empire State Building
Yep.
here. It's a football town, Dan.
Yes,
it's a
it
Rutgers
is.
town here. In good old New
It
York.
took me 10 showers to wash the red paint off of me.
They've painted
It was
the whole
just
town red.
It was a crazy city.
I saw it on the
Thursday
way in here.
night. Yeah.
A good game.
Yeah.
Louisville 20, Rutgers 17. Rutgers had a lead here. They should have won this game, but Teddy Bridgewater comes off the bench, throws 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
They win it with a late 29-yard field goal. They win the Big East, basically.
Yes.
With that. They win the Big East, presumably now headed to a BCS bowl game, probably one that no one will watch. I don't want to disappoint the Louisville fans out there.
I love the season. This is, I mean, we're snarky. We make fun of everything on the Twitters and stuff like that and on this show. To see Teddy Bridgewater go out with a broken left wrist and barely could walk, and to come back, they're down 14-3 at halftime to win this game. Did you see the emotional scene in the locker room afterwards? For Charlie Strong to go out with a game like, not to go out, not that he's leaving or anything, but to clinch the conference, to win in the emotional fashion on the road.
Sure.
Great story.
It is.
New
It is.
ACC team, soon to be new Big Ten team, soon to be new Big 12, soon to be new Pac-12 team Louisville. Going to the show, going to the dance.
Going to the dance. Yeah, very emotional. It was very McCarron-esque, except McCarron would do that on the field
Right.
with the crying and
That's what I
whatnot.
mean.
But
Wears his emotion on his sleeve.
He does.
And his face.
he does. MAC championship, a little MACtion.
Action.
How about this game? Northern Illinois 44, Kent State 37.
Yeah.
This game went to double
6.5
OT.
point spread, mind you. Our
Double
friends in
OT.
Vegas.
Double OT.
Yeah.
What a game. Jordan Lynch, a fella I know you mentioned on Wednesday, 36 rushes, 160 on the ground, 3 touchdowns, another 212, and a
Because
touchdown
why not?
through the air. He's really, really good.
He's so good that their coach got a new job.
Yeah.
Dave Doran taking over at NC State. Yeah. But yeah, great story for Northern Illinois. I think they've won double-digit straight games after losing early. And hopefully for the sake of Maction, get some cash into the middle of America. Yeah, it's basically a stimulus plan if the
Pretty
MAC
much.
if a MAC team, if Northern Illinois can get into a BCS game. Would love to see it. I just, you love to see underdog stories, and we've seen Oklahoma a lot. Love Oklahoma. I'm not really. But
Yeah.
it would be great to see Northern Illinois.
Okay. a few other games that we will get through very quickly.
Yeah.
The Conference USA Championship, which we were all watching very closely.
Yes.
Tulsa 33, UCF, another one that went to overtime.
Indeed.
You know, a lot of overtime, a lot of close games. The Sun Belt, not so much. The Sun Belt, much more in the vein of the Big Ten Championship, 45-0. Gus
Arkansas
Malzahn
State, yeah.
taking home that Sun Belt. First year at Arkansas
Not too
State.
shabby.
The Red Wolves.
Runs the Sun Belt.
Wolfpack.
Look, I mean, we're talking about Oregon's strength of schedule here. We're talking about Fresno State, talking about Arkansas State, and I believe those are all the teams they played in the non-conference. But looking good. What was you sent me it was the Sagarin strength of schedule ratings.
Yes.
Was Oregon one ahead of Notre Dame?
One behind.
One behind Notre
Yeah.
Dame.
It was very close. It was actually very close.
There it is.
Very close, and we can have this debate.
I want apologies, America.
We'll talk a little bit more about this.
Yeah.
3 more games that I'll briefly mention. Baylor wins 41-34 in a shootout, exactly what you might expect in a game against Oklahoma State. 1,100 plus yards in this one.
Yep.
Oklahoma State down 24-3 at one point. They came back. Had a hard time with the onside kick at the end of the game.
That's rough.
I don't know how much you watched.
I watched this. Yeah.
A lot of wind. A lot of wind.
Yeah.
A lot of wind up in here.
Yeah.
Oklahoma wins.
We got a question about Baylor, by the way.
Oh, go ahead.
And it's really dumb, but I'm
Okay.
going to ask it because I like dumb questions.
Yeah, of course.
You ready for it? Okay.
Sure.
Let's pretend Baylor played defense all year. What happens? Let's pretend Oregon kicked a field goal against Stanford. Let's pretend Florida had an offense all year.
Let's pretend I'm a foot taller.
I don't know how to answer that
I'm
question.
a foot taller.
Let's pretend Ty's a foot taller.
Let's pretend.
And 6'3".
That's right.
Let's make these jumps. Yeah, Baylor, they needed a defense, but the reason their offense scored so many points is their defense let them down a lot and allowed points. So they got back on the field real quick.
Yeah, well, some other Big 12 games. Oklahoma beats TCU in a weird game.
Yeah.
K-State beats Texas by 18 points. Again, we sort of expected this.
Anything to take from either of those games?
Not really. Not really. Except that Brad Nessler said that Case McCoy had huge numbers in a losing effort.
Case McCoy is so funny looking. He makes me
He is.
laugh.
All right.
Yeah, Texas, it's another down year for Mac Brown. Kansas State, Colin Klein, great story, end of a great career, regular season. He appears to be going up against Oregon in the Fiesta Bowl. TCU, I mentioned Trevon Boykin. It'll be very exciting to see what he's able to do. Their defense is so young.
Yeah.
That's a team I'm very excited about next season, just way prematurely. Here's the other, for as long as we're on the Big 12, then we'll move on to something else. Your Kansas Jayhawks.
My Kansas.
Decided schematic advantage.
Right.
Charlie Weiss, Dane Christ, who you still are insisting should be the quarterback.
Should have won the Heisman, yeah.
For Notre Dame this season.
Right.
Yeah, if Dane Christ were the quarterback, they'd be 15-0 right now.
Yeah.
Kansas does not throw a single touchdown pass in 2012 to a wide receiver.
Wow.
There it is.
They're great.
All right.
Decided schematic advantage.
Do we now have Clay?
I believe we have Mr. Travis on the phone lines.
There we go.
Clay, how are you?
Can you guys hear me this time?
Yes, we can.
We can hear you. How are you?
This is extraordinary. I'm good. I'm driving back from the SEC title game from Atlanta to Nashville. All's going well. I'm in good shape here because I've got Alabama in the futures odds and I'll be able to hedge it with Notre Dame. And if Notre Dame loses a close game to Alabama, then I'll make some decent little money for me.
All right, so you're talking about a hedge there. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've got the 5-1 odds on Bama winning the BCS title that I got right after they lost A&M. I thought the market kind of overreacted. You know, college football craziness happens. Alabama was clearly going to be the most likely team with one loss to be able to get in. So got a good buy there, I thought, and then things broke my way, and now I'm in the money. So all I've got to do, I mean, the best case scenario for me, you know, this line's 8.5 or whatever it is now. Or 8, you know, I want it to get as high as it can, and then be able to take Notre Dame. And as long as they keep it close, I'll double down and make a little bit more money.
There are going to be a lot of Notre Dame fans hearing this saying, "Whoa, we thought Clay Travis was the enemy."
Well, I'm advising people. I think that that's definitely true. I think that Alabama will win by double digits, but I'm going to protect my my investment. Money before opinion. Let me tell you, money always before opinion.
That seems smart.
No, that seems like a very smart deal. The other thing I'll ask, and I'll turn it over to Dan. Did you play your own drinking game last night?
No, I couldn't, although I'm insanely hungover right now because every year after the SEC title game, the game ends at like the perfect time, you know, down there. I mean, you get out after writing a column or listening to the interviews and everything else. And it's like 9:30 or 10 o'clock. So I always go out and get a bunch of beers, and then it just escalates from there. And the night actually ended for me with Charles Barkley leaning over. And the last 3 SEC title games, by the way, I've ended up out drinking with Charles Barkley.
Wow.
And it ended with him saying, the only 3 times I've ever been out, well, I've been out a couple other times with him, but the only times in Atlanta that I've ever been out with him, he leans over. I don't think he has any clue who I am. He's like, whatever you need, brother, I got you from here on out. He says that every year. And I have no idea whether he remembers who I am every time, but he always does it. So it's always a good night.
Nice. I'm going to ask you this as a Westerner, and I know you're obviously a Southerner, but this is the confusion for me, and I've talked about this with other friends from the West Coast or from somewhere that's not the South or a Notre Dame fan. It seems like a no-win thing for me as a general college football fan to root for either Alabama or Notre Dame. It's not fun when Notre Dame wins for me. It's not fun for me when Alabama or an SEC team wins for me. What is the more likable team to you in this game as a fan of neither?
That's an extraordinary question. I don't know if there's an easy answer. My guess, and it's just my guess, is that Notre Dame has more quote-unquote haters than Alabama does. Just because there's a lot more casual Alabama fans. A lot more casual Notre Dame fans.
Sure.
In the South, I think that Alabama is probably the least liked team by other Southerners. Like the other 13 schools, I don't know if Missouri and A&M really have much of an opinion right now.
Right.
But of the other, 11 schools, I would say that Alabama is probably the most disliked. And that's because, they're obviously a successful team, but also because their fan base is just full of complete and utter idiots. And so I think that's probably true on some level for Notre Dame as well, because there's just so many casual fans, and people feel it's a great question. I don't know, because people will say, oh, the SEC is so overhyped, but as an individual team, the team that gets accused of being the most overhyped every year, it seems to me, is Notre Dame.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know. The hateability index, I don't know. My guess is Notre Dame, but I don't know, is a little bit more hated than Alabama, but I don't know that for a fact.
All right, then I'll pose the question.
Great question.
I'll pose the question in a slightly different way. On Tuesday morning after the game, which fan base will be more insufferable, especially online?
I think Notre Dame fans would be a lot more insufferable, because I think Alabama fans are so cocky and confident that they don't feel the need to really gloat. Even after they beat LSU last year,
right?
Like Saban has got them rolling at such a dynasty level that I didn't even really get very many, the sense at all that the Alabama fan base was puffing out their chests and going crazy. When they won in 2009, they were insufferable because they hadn't won since 1992. They beat Texas in a big, showdown game.
Right.
They knocked Colt McCoy out, all those things. I think if you've gone a long time, which Notre Dame has since 1988, I guess, by far they would be the most insufferable on Tuesday.
All right, then I will ask you a final question, and it's just about the football element of it. Now that we know the matchup, and we've been hearing for a few days, or actually weeks and weeks, that in a supposed Notre Dame Alabama game, Alabama would be favored. So I'm going to ask you to play devil's advocate. The big advantage for Notre Dame in this game is what if they're going to win? If Notre Dame is to win, it will be because of this.
They managed to confuse A.J. McCarron.
Okay.
I think that if you look at A.J. McCarron's performances, he did not play very well against Texas A&M. He did not play that well other than the end of the first half drive and the end of the second half drive against LSU. And honestly, he was just okay last night. I thought he made several throws that could have been intercepted in addition to the ones that he did. So I think if Notre Dame and Brian Kelly can confuse A.J. McCarron, then Notre Dame has a very good chance of winning. Now, they're also going to have to stop Alabama from rushing the ball. It's a combination of those two things. To me, that's kind of the key to the game, because if you can stop, I don't think they can, but if they could stop T.J. Yeldon and Eddie Lacy and make A.J. McCarron win the game, he hasn't proven this year that he can do it, and they can make a play defensively, get a pick, score, something like that.
Clay, you mentioned you don't think they can stop T.J. Yeldon. Why?
I don't know that anybody in the country can stop. The scariest thing about T.J. Yeldon, and by the way, Amari Cooper is just unbelievable as well this year, is can you imagine those guys playing last year? 150-pound safety trying to tackle T.J. Yeldon in the open field, some sophomore, from wherever. I don't even know where T.J. Yeldon's from off the top of my head right now. But it's unbelievable to me how many of these guys, Nick Saban recruits well. That's like a cliche that doesn't really prove anything.
Right.
But what's amazing is about Nick Saban's ability to to see the guys and project them and have them be good so quickly. What's amazing about Saban's recruiting is he doesn't miss very often.
Right.
Lots of schools get 4- and 5-star guys. Saban's 4- and 5-star guys are the best. They're beasts. They're unbelievable.
All right. You were at the game yesterday. Based on what you saw, did we learn anything new about either Alabama or Georgia? Obviously, Alabama is more of the team that is topic worthy, but did you learn anything new based on what you saw yesterday, or was it more along the lines of what you expected?
I think I was a little bit surprised that Alabama was able to come back from a double-digit deficit. I think they showed they can take a punch and not panic. I mean, because that was a crazy atmosphere. The Georgia fans were unbelievably loud, 21-10. They haven't won an SEC title since 2005. They got a chance if they win that game to play for the national title. And Alabama just stepped right in and did what they needed to do. They did it against LSU, but that wasn't a really substantial deficit. This was a double-digit deficit.
Yep.
Crazy stat. I mean, Nick Saban has only lost one game, by the way, by double digits in the last 4 years. He hasn't lost very many games at all. But that's a crazy stat. And that was the only game that he allowed over 30 points for an opponent.
It was South Carolina.
Again, interesting stat. Yeah, South Carolina with Stephen Garcia and those guys just played the whale of the game.
Yep.
I think we actually learned a lot about Georgia because Georgia has not shown up for a lot of these games. And obviously that was what fired up Mark Richt at the end of the press conference last night. But I thought they played an unbelievably tough game. I mean, Alabama's better than Georgia. But I thought that Georgia came out and laid it all on the line and really with a little bit better clock management down the stretch should have been in a position to really win that game and play for the title.
Yeah, what was the reaction after that weird play at the end? Because I heard an interview with Mark Richt in which he discussed he didn't think he had enough time to clock the ball, which was shocking to me. Did I hear that incorrectly? What was the takeaway there?
Yeah, he said they had the play called that they wanted to run. And it's funny because they should have clocked the ball on the previous play. Like, somebody got injured and they stopped the game for just a second. That guy gets up, sprints off the field or whatever. There's a stop and play for the first down marker. And then like 10 seconds run off before A.J. McCarron takes the snap. Now he hits the tight end, Lynch, I think it was, for like 25 yards down to the 8-yard line. But if they had clocked the ball there would have been like 28 seconds left. You're sitting at 2nd and 10. And then when you complete that pass, I think they would have immediately thought, okay, let's spike the ball so we can set up at least 2 and maybe 3 throws into the end zone to try to win the game. So to me, the big mess there was they didn't spike the ball the previous play when they should have. I was on my knee at the 8-yard line, literally in line with the on the side of the field, and I didn't see the ball get tipped. I mean, you're watching live, sometimes you miss things. But my first thought was, you can't throw that pass. So I thought they were throwing short, which would have been the ultimate, decision to make. But you'd like to think the kid would just see the ball and be like, I can't catch this and spike it, to the ground. But how often do you see people actually make that decision? So there's no way he was going to be able to score.
All right, season's over. The regular season's over, save for Army Navy, the FBS season. Who are your best 4 teams in the coming 4-team playoff in a couple of years for this season?
I think that Oregon. I know Stanford, beat them. I think that Oregon should be in there. I think they're the best team in the Pac-12, and I understand that's kind of a slight to Stanford, but I think Oregon should be in. I think that Florida, has the best resume. Honestly, I know they haven't been as impressive, and I don't think they're as good.
Right.
I think they have the best resume of any 4 big, feather in the cap wins that they have put up this year, and they're 11-1. So I'd put Florida in. I'd put Notre Dame in, and I'd put Alabama. Those would be my 4.
Okay. Well, Clay, we'll get you out of here on this, and we'll bring you back at some point to debate the merits of Notre Dame and Alabama, since it seems like you've made some enemies out on the internet. You're smart about it, but what is the favorite name you've been called now amongst the Twitterers and the outkick the coverage readers, based on some of the stuff you've been saying and putting out there on the web?
Well, it's funny, it's almost like the old, Eminem 8 Mile thing where, like, he comes out at the end and takes down Papa Doc by just admitting to all of his flaws in advance. Like, people are so blown away that I've just announced myself as a gay Muslim on Twitter that they really don't have any idea what to insult.
That's brave.
It was so stupid for a long time. And there were Alabama fans, and they're just so incredibly dumb. I mean, for about 3 years in a row, every day, multiple Alabama fans would say, "Yo, you are gay," to me. Like, no matter, as if that was the greatest insult on earth. Like,
they nailed it.
Right. As if I loved penis, I would just be the most insulting thing that I could possibly have happen.
Right.
I just love that. So I just went ahead and announced that I was gay on Twitter, and it just flabbergasted them because they don't. It's so funny because they don't even know. It's like they're so stupid that their insult repertoire outside of gay is like I've just taken away all of their ammunition.
That
so
hurts.
I still get a lot of the gay, but I've admitted that I'm gay, so it doesn't really have much of an impact.
Of course.
Yeah, and now I'm a Muslim too, so that's that's kind of it's amazing to me how many times people with Bible verses in their Twitter profile will just say the most ridiculous things to me. I like to retweet those people as well. But in general, I just say what I believe. Like Arkansas fans have been furious at me recently, but it's because most fans, fan bases, I think in this day and age with the rivals and the scouts and like all of these homer. I'm not saying it in a bad way, but I mean they are fan-based coverage sites.
Sure.
It's sports has become a lot like politics, where you want to get your information from people who already have the same opinion as you. Like I like to watch CNN. Maybe that's a rarity. I think they try to call it down the middle. I read the New York Times every day. I know that they're supposed to be a liberal rag, but I think they do a pretty good job in media of trying to be in the middle. I like people who try to be objective, and it's amazing to me that so many people now basically like go to MSNBC or Fox News of sports broadcasting or opinion and just constantly get fed the information that their school is the best, that their job is the best, that their stadium is the best, that their coach is the best, or whatever it is. There's very little, like reasonableness. It seems to me every year people get a little bit less reasonable about their teams, which is a huge opening for me. So my goal basically is to constantly serve truth, dishes of truth to these idiots.
The Clay Travis Truth Serum. All right, we'll get you out of here on this one. Tennessee needs a coach. Is it you?
I could have been. I don't know how much worse I could have done than Derek Gooley. We've actually had that debate.
That's a legitimate question there. Yeah,
And you have the pants.
Yeah, right. I mean, I would have said that he's going to make $11 million for 3 years' work, and he won 4 SEC games. Like, if I had taken over that job, first of all, people would have really liked me because one-on-one, I'm a pretty likable guy. I think I would be a good recruiter, even though I know very little about X's and O's. I think I'd be pretty good with bombs.
Right.
I could sit down in living rooms and convince people to come to my school. How much worse could I have done? I mean, he went 4-17. He won 4 SEC games. He beat Houston Nutt. He beat Robbie Caldwell. He beat James Franklin once in overtime, and he beat Joker Phillips. I'm not even kidding. I mean, the talent level is not awful. I don't know that I could have done much worse.
Yeah. All right. Well, we appreciate you stopping by here, Clay. By all means, have a safe drive home. How far of a drive is that?
I fly on the. I actually, my driving record is just a disaster for speeding tickets and everything else. I just immediately pay them. I'm making about 3 hours, but it's about 240 miles, so I'm averaging at least 80.
Nice.
And it's not a bad drive.
All right. Well, be safe. We will talk to you again at some point in the very near future where maybe we can argue a little bit more and give the fans what they want.
Will you guys be at the BCS title game?
We will be.
We're planning on being there, yeah.
Are you there?
Yeah, so I'll see you guys. Yeah, I'll be there.
In person.
Down there.
In person, Clay Travis, again.
All right. Clay Travis, OutkickTheCoverage.com and 104.5 The Zone in Nashville. Appreciate you stopping by. And, again, have a safe drive home.
Hey, I appreciate that. Appreciate you guys having me on.
All right. Take care. Clay Travis, boys and girls. A lot of folks teaming up on Clay on the interwebs because he is dissing that truth serum. So he believes and saying that Notre Dame would be the 7th best team in the SEC and that Notre Dame's going to be a double-digit victim of Alabama when this game takes place on January 7th.
Where do you rank Notre Dame in the SEC?
I don't rank Notre Dame in terms of the
because
SEC.
They're not
it's a bogus question.
Right.
It's a bogus question. Where do you rank the New York Giants in the AFC West?
7th.
Yeah, I mean, who cares? It doesn't. This is not the system that any level of college football plays.
By the way, I think Notre Dame could beat LSU. I think they could beat South Carolina. I think they could beat Texas A&M.
Here's the thing, and here's where this argument breaks down.
I think they could beat Georgia.
Here's where the argument breaks down.
Yeah.
All right, if you're taking power rankings and if you're looking within the context of a full season, I completely understand the argument that Notre Dame might be 6th best, 7th best, whatever best in the SEC. You can make that argument if you want. And I have long believed this season that Alabama is still the better team.
Sure.
All right. I'm fine with that. I'm comfortable with that. And Notre Dame fans might not want to hear it, but Alabama's been pretty good this season. And I'm comfortable saying that they're the best team in the country.
That's big of you.
Yeah,
Alabama's been pretty good this year.
Thank you. I'm going out on a limb. I realize that. This is a one-game setup, though.
Yes.
This is a one-game setup. In
Love it.
one game, almost anyone has a puncher's chance.
Right.
So I don't know realistically how much sense it makes to say that Notre Dame's going to go in there and get throttled. We haven't seen a lot of that in BCS championship games.
Correct.
So I feel like Notre Dame can at least keep it close. If the spread is 9, I jump on Notre Dame.
You have a great defensive front. You're not getting killed. That's just not how football works.
Notre Dame, to me, may not win the football game, but I feel they're good enough on defense, and I don't care who's running or what line they're running behind. It matters, but Notre Dame's pretty good up front. Notre Dame can at least do enough to keep this close.
Yeah.
They can at
as
least
long
do
as
enough to
Lewis
keep it
Nix
close.
still has his high top fade.
Well, of course. That's what everyone cares about.
I love a close game.
But I think Notre Dame can at least keep it close, and I think they will keep it close.
Yeah.
So whether or not they win remains to be seen.
Yes.
I will go. I'll make the bet with Clay. Well, I'll go Notre Dame money line.
I don't care about money. Everybody's got money, or nobody
I'll go
has
Notre
money.
Dame straight up.
I want there to be something like I want mohawks. I want something
Lasers.
physically altered.
Go lasers,
or like there's an activity or something.
That's
what I want.
I won't shave my hair because this is how I make my money.
We should probably make the bet. Maybe not you and Clay.
Okay.
To make it interesting.
We'll
whatever. We'll talk to Clay down. Anyway, any other games before we close out?
No.
We have questions that we can go through real quick. Tire fire of the week. Can we roll the fire? Do we have our TV went out behind us?
Okay, great.
Because there is too much energy.
There's a lot of energy here.
From
There's
us.
a lot of energy here.
Can we roll the tire fire graphic, which makes me so happy?
If we have the graphic, maybe we can roll that.
There
it is. Oh, listen to the music.
It's the winter time.
The audio listeners are really missing out here.
Oh, some cocoa.
There it is.
I love
Tire fire.
Who do you got?
The people doing the chest passes in the tuition throws.
You think that should be banned?
It's the new clap skate.
I love
it. This is the clap skate of tuition throws.
I love innovation.
I measured this out at home.
Yeah.
It's about a 15-foot throw. Mm-hmm. If I were throwing overhand, I'm not missing that hole at all.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Yeah, well. Not missing that hole, Ty.
Okay.
No.
I'm not missing that. I'm not missing one throw.
Right.
All right. But now they've got the chest pass
in front of like 80,000 people, in front of 100,000 people?
Throw.
No, you are.
I'm not missing one throw.
Listen, as somebody who's been on game shows, who sits at home and watches game shows and does really well and then goes on them and falls through a trap door.
My bad.
It's a little harder under the lights. That's all I'm saying.
Not worried about it.
Yeah.
15 feet? 15 feet?
15 feet.
I could throw through a damn hole with 15 feet.
Right,
I'm not missing that hole. Anyway, yeah, the people going to the chest pass, they need to put it in the rules that you can't do the chest pass. It is fun, though, and it's inventive.
Do you think they will going forward?
I think either move it back. They have to move it back at some point.
I love it.
They either have to move the tuition throws back, or they need to ban the chest passes.
Right.
I did see one guy, though, and I was going to mention this. When he was going into the bins with all the footballs, too many people go one ball at it.
Oh, you have to, you have to pop a shot. Yeah, go two. Yeah.
Go two. And so that was good to see someone finally adopting that. But beyond that, my tire fire was anyone going chest pass.
All right.
It's a sacrilegious event.
I'm going to go with Nebraska's defense. I'm going to go with Florida State's offense.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Texas on the season as a whole.
Can we still go Iowa, even though they didn't?
We can still go Iowa posthumously.
Right.
We'll go the coaching search of Tennessee.
Yeah. Their pursuit of John Gruden.
Their pursuit of John Gruden, yeah. Who else struck you this week and or weekend as being Rutgers' second half offensive game plan?
Yeah. Can we go? Let's go to
Lake Seastrung's hamstring.
Yeah.
The rest of Lake Seastrung.
He's fine.
Very cold tire, but his hamstring a fire.
Let's throw Nebraska in there again for giving up 539 yards on the ground.
Yeah, the Big Ten for having the game again in Lucas Oil where nobody cares to go.
No.
I'd like to see this go. Look, people are going to go to Atlanta in the SEC. It's a lot more concentrated. The Lucas Oil thing, can we end that? We had a good game last year and nobody showed up.
I don't know.
We had Michigan State, Wisconsin last year. Let's go home stadiums like the Pac-12. I like that.
Questions. We got time for 3.
Lightning round.
Lightning round. 3 questions.
3 questions.
Read them off. We got these from Twitter and wherever else.
Yeah. What are the best and worst BCS bowl matchups? We don't know yet.
We don't know that.
The Rose Bowl is not going to be good. I think the Fiesta Bowl. We know that it's going to be Kansas State and Oregon. I think that'll be fun. The Modern Family Chris Harper.
The Orange Bowl. We can just say the Orange Bowl because it's usually pretty bad.
Notre Dame front 7 versus Bama O-line and running backs. Who you got?
Notre Dame front 7 better than people are giving it credit for.
Right.
It confounds me how people are still not sold on the front 7. We've seen it all year. So I'm not going to make the statement who's better or who's worse, but I think Notre Dame's front 7 can hang with that. Look, if Georgia could hang with them for a while, Notre Dame certainly can. So I think they're pretty good, and they'll be able to contain somewhat that rushing attack.
Any chance for pro combat uniforms in the national championship game? Oregon busted out the neon yellow and black.
You're not talking about Notre Dame, right?
Notre Dame and or Alabama. Alabama didn't bust out special uniforms this year. Alabama did. I mean, Alabama did not. Notre Dame did.
Right.
Notre Dame. Who did they play?
That was the Shamrock Series game against Miami, I believe. Yeah, no, they better not put those on again.
Okay, so you're saying straight uniforms, the
they
same
better.
shiny
No.
gold helmets. Finally,
I actually had a dream the night of the USC game that they were going to go green jersey.
I'm really
Thankfully,
glad they
they did
didn't.
not,
Yeah.
but go ahead.
Final question before we get out of your hair. Seriously, is Ty Asian? You can tell us.
I'm not Asian. I don't know where does this come from?
I actually wrote that.
Oh, you wrote
I
that.
wrote that. I
hear
threw that
the
in
people
there.
in the back room.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
No.
I'm not.
That's a shame.
I am pro-Asian.
You're pro-Asia.
Pro-Asia.
Where would you travel to in Asia if you could go anywhere in the
Probably go
continent?
Hong Kong, Macau. They've got great gambling, I'm told,
God,
in
you're
Macau.
such a degenerate.
I'm just saying, I'm
You
looking
are
for
so
attractions. The
bad.
Great Wall of China, I'm told, you can see from
Right.
space.
Yeah, I would go.
These are things. These are real things.
I feel like I would go Cambodia. Good food, monkeys everywhere. I've heard good things.
We're stereotyping Cambodia now.
Rare listen, I like monkeys, and I've heard it's a beautiful, beautiful
What is
country.
Australia considered? That's not Asia. That's Oceania.
No, Australia is considered
It's its own-
Australia, Ty.
It's its own thing.
What is going on?
Well, while we're over there, we can stop it.
That's true. We can.
Stop somewhere over there.
I would go to Papua New Guinea.
Papau.
Yeah. I don't know.
Sure.
It seems tribal.
When we do the Solid Verbal World Tour,
Yes.
we can stop.
They
in on
love college football podcasts in Papua.
They do. We get
Yeah.
hits. So, all right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. We have a national championship, which we will discuss at solidverbal.com. Alabama against Notre Dame.
Yes,
My
we do.
Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Many other bowl games. Our analysis of those bowl games to follow once we get the exact
Wednesday.
matchups.
Yep.
Head on out again to solidverbal.com. Look us up on Twitter, Facebook, and the like. For this guy over here to my left,
I'm not wearing pants.
Dan Rubenstein. For myself, Ty Hildenbrandt. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you all in a few days. In the meantime, stay solid.
I just jumped on it. Peace.